did it again. Clearly, I'm a big fan of Sinister, and now you and Scott are 2 for 2 in the horror realm together. I love it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I mean it. All right. So first up here, we don't necessarily need this, but I was especially impressed in the movie by how not explaining away the grabber's backstory, just it worked exceptionally well. So it was making me wonder, are there any particular details you came up with for the character that we don't necessarily see or hear in the film, but are heavily informing how you carry yourself in the role?
I tried to. You try to give yourself a backstory, but like you, one of the things I really liked about the script is it doesn't have a ton of exposition. It's like the guy is clearly broken, malevolent, and terrible. And when you're doing things like hurting children, I don't really care about the reason. You know, I, the actor, need to know a reason. What makes him laugh? Why does he do X and not Y? Why, like, what is it that makes him violent versus kind? And what does he think is kind? And you can kind of, you know, your imagination, you're forced into, I have to think about what that phone means to me and how this whole thing started and all that. But what I like about the movie is that it doesn't tell you what they are, because you're experiencing it the way Mason experiences it, which is he doesn't know. And so and even the mask itself makes your brain just hunt for you can't even see what this guy looks like. So you're hunting for any piece of information that you can find.
I am usually world building obsessed, so I get very hung up on those things. So when I walked out, I couldn't believe how effective that was, where I wasn't being weighted down by not knowing, and instead it was enhancing the experience. Bringing up the masks here, I know when you first read the script, you imagined there being just one mask. So what exactly were you picturing day one when you joined the project, and then how did the masks evolve and influence your impression of the character?
Based on my previous experience with Scott on Sinister, I gave him a tremendous amount of trust. I know how obsessive he is and how much smarter he is about this world and this environment than I am. And so I didn't really know, and I asked a lot of questions about the mask, and I was confused by the answers, and it wasn't until I saw them that I knew how to play the part. I found it absolutely fascinating that there were like 8 different versions of the mask, you know, and we could pick different ones for different scenes. And Scott had a logic to it all that was the logic of a mad person. You know, there wasn't necessarily an exact rhyme or reason. It was just his own broken mechanism trying to communicate in his own broken way. And the mask made him real for me in some strange way. It was like he's ashamed of himself, and that shame is driving him to even more unimaginable crimes. And that duality was confusing in a good way. You know, it had the logic of a human logic to it, which is like, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I really trusted him, but this person who designed the mask did a great job. The texture on them is amazing and strange, and everything about it creeped me out.
It's an iconic look now, too. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of them popping up Halloween.
I bet we will.
Please tell me everything about working with Mason. He is absolutely exceptional in this movie. So what was it about him that you really appreciated as a scene partner?
It's so hard. Movies love young people, and the problem with it is it's really difficult to find a young person who's capable of carrying a movie like this, who loves movies enough, who is expressive enough, who can throw themselves over to it. I recently watched E.T. again, and you just like, that's a great film and everything, but Henry Thomas's performance is just staggering. And Mason does such a good job, and I knew we had our first rehearsal via Zoom, you know, because it was in the heart of the pandemic and everything. I just love the way he thinks, and he gave himself over to it just completely. And the thing about scary movies that you wouldn't think is they're a lot of fun to make. It was really playful and silly, and you feel like you're, I don't know, the best sense of acting when it really is at play. You know, the players, we're there playing. And kids, when they're good, they're really game. But I knew the movie would only be as good as he was. I mean, you know, my performance is lost if if he's not exceptional in the movie, because he's got a big job to do.
He is, except both of them, him and Madeline,
Oh,
are phenomenal in this.
totally.
Before I think I still have time for one more before they make me leave here. So is there anything about working opposite Mason in terms of him being a fresh set of eyes, someone who is a little bit newer to the business, that maybe illuminated something in your own craft that you have yet to tap into?
Really, what's hard as you get older is keeping your curiosity alive, because curiosity is what's going to take you to someplace new. And being on a set with a person who was so grateful to be there and like cherished the experience of getting to do this scene and was game to scream or cry or laugh or be cool or all of the above at any given moment, that kind of joy of playing is contagious. And it makes you throw off your veteran hard hat and just kind of play. And then life becomes fun again.
I love it. That's what this is all about. You got to have
Yeah.
that kind of mentality if you're going to stay in this business and keep making challenging films like this.
Yeah, exactly.